Hi everyone, this is the Maureen Bradley Designs YouTube channel. I'm Stephanie Reese, your host, and today I am sharing how I'm making or have made this fairy garden lantern. So I made the hook and I've shortened it. You can make the hook any length you like, and I'm making it with a acorn shell top or acorn top from my yard, and I'm using Lampwork candy cane beads, and then here's what the underneath looks like. So I'm sharing how I have anchored this so that you can turn it into a lantern for a fairy garden. So some things you're going to need, I'll put this here. Some things you will need to make this lantern are Lampwork candy canes, candy corn beads. I am using some little peanut beads. These are real tiny beads that look like little peanuts, and those are because the holes in my candy corn are rather large, so I need a little bit of a stopper. You could also use a bead cap or something similar. Another round bead would be great. I'm using some stainless steel ball head pins. I'm using some copper jump rings. These are 4mm, and I have a few acorn tops from my yard. I have gone ahead and put a sealer on the acorn on both sides. As you can see, it's a little shiny, and I have sealed them so that they will last. I'm also using 22 gauge Parawire in antique copper. I have cut 4 pieces of this wire, and then for the hook I'm using some Beadalon Colorcraft silver tarnish resistant silver plated wire in 18 gauge. Excuse me. So to get started, the first thing we're going to do is that we need to pick an acorn top. And again, I recommend going ahead and sealing the acorn on the top and the bottom so that it will last. I'm going to take one piece of this 8-inch wire, and the first thing we're going to do is anchor it to our acorn. So I am placing my wire on the bottom, and I'm just going to, and I'm in the middle of my wire here, so I've got equal ends. And actually we could probably move over just one. I'm going to press in just a little bit into the acorn cap. Like so. Let me move my finger so you can see how I've kind of dented it into the acorn cap. All right. And then you're going to take your fingers, and then you're just going to be about halfway on each side, so the wire is symmetrical. So you're going to move one end of the wire up and bend it down like so, and you want to be so that the wire is really close to your acorn. And then I'm making sure I've pressed both ends inside of the cap like so. And then making sure this side didn't get moved a little bit. It's okay, it takes a minute to get your fingers all worked out. And then you're going to want to take this side and do the same thing, and you're going to come opposite end. And then we're just making sure we are in the center of the acorn, all the while holding the wire on the bottom and the top. So we want our longer stem to come up. So some tools you're going to need are, I have chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, and I did bring in my bail making pliers for the hook. In case your wire gets kinked, you can use some nylon pliers to straighten your wire. And I have some flush cutters. And to make the shepherd's hook, or the hook for your lantern, I have a wire mandrel in the round. So okay, back to the acorn. In order to get the longer end, and we're making sure that it's really close to your acorn. I want to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to come to the center of my acorn and I'm going to bend that wire directly up, like so. This is going to help you anchor your wire into place, if you can see that. Now we're going to take the shorter end and we're going to wrap it around that stem that's straight up. And we're going to come around a couple times, like so. 2 times is probably good. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off with my flush cutters. I'm going to hold on with my other fingers to that other end so that it doesn't fly off. And I'm going to clip my stem. And then if there's a little piece hanging out, you can come in with your chain nose pliers and just tuck it in. Oops. Like so. So now we have this anchored acorn cap in place. And I'm just pushing down a little bit on my loops and making sure my wire's straight. So now, in order to make the little scrolls or connection pieces that you see here, we're going to use our other pieces of wire. Put that down. So I'm grabbing another piece of my 8-inch wire and I'm going to come under my loop and go to the other side, like so. And again, I want it in the middle, like so. And then you're just going to begin wrapping around on top of the wire you used to anchor the acorn. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other wire. I'm going to come around on top of the other side of the wire. I'm going to hold this down and I'm going to come around. And I'm going to go around a few times, moving my wire on top of the wire. And I'm going to go a few times until I am happy with that. I'm going to come around again. And then I'm going to end on opposite sides. There we go. And I'm just straightening them out. All right, so now I'm on opposite ends. I'm going to leave those ends hanging out like that. It's going to feel a little funny, but I promise it's okay. I want you to go ahead and pick up another wire. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go under everything with that piece of wire. And in about the middle of it, you're going to do the same thing. You're under the wire and you're about equal distant on each side. It's okay if it's not equal, like so this side is longer than my other side. It's going to be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to do the same thing and I'm going to come the opposite way. And I'm going on top of my wires. Okay. And I'm just chasing the other wire. And you can come up a little bit on the stem, as you can see. I'm going up a little bit to anchor this in place. So I'm just chasing the wires around. And I'm going to go around a couple times. And again, my wires are going to wind up opposite each other, such that you're in a different spot on your acorn cap, like so. Oops. Make sure I'm not moving that. Okay, and then I'm just pushing everything down. Now you've got one more wire that we need to deal with. So go ahead, put it under the all of the wires, and then wrap around. Okay, so I have anchored all my wires into place Everything's underneath my base wire that I anchored the acorn with. I've got my stem coming up, and now you should have something that looks similar to this, where all of your wires are pretty much equidistant. If you need to move them a little bit, go ahead and move them. Because now we're going to be dealing with each of these wires so that we could anchor them to the acorn. And so our wire piece, you should have something similar to this where it looks like a spiral, because you've been going under all the wires and wrapping around. And if you need to straighten them out, you can use your fingers like so. And we're just making sure everything is equidistant and in place. And it should look similar to this. And then here's what the bottom looks like, of course, with our wire anchored in place, like so. And then I'm just going to make sure it is in the middle, okay, of my acorn cap. All right, so now what we need to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to bend one of these wires down. I'll do this one first, and I'm just bending it down over the acorn top so that it meets the edge. And then I'm going to measure about 1/2 inch, I think is good, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. We'll do 1/2 inch, right about there. So I'm going to be clipping that off because we're going to do a little bit of a scroll. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers this time, and I'm just going to get the edge of to the very tip. I'm going to place my wire into my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to come around like so. Let's see, until you make a loop like so. All the while I'm keeping that wire pressed down. And then I'm going to keep coming around until I pass that loop a little bit, like so. And then you can come in with your nylon jaw pliers. And while you've got the wire pressed to the tip of your finger, you're going to round it in towards the acorn cap, like so. And I'm just pushing the wire in so that it's secure, and then if it does come apart, you can always straighten it with your chain nose pliers like so, and that anchors your wire to the acorn. I'm going to do one more for you, and then you can always stop the video to repeat the process while you're working. So I'm going to measure again a little bit from the edge of my acorn cap, and I'm going to go about 1/2 inch out. I'm going to clip away that wire. Okay, and then again I'm grabbing my round nose pliers. At the very tip, I'm going to make a loop. Like so. And then I'm going to keep going until I pass that loop. And I'm pushing up against the wire up against my finger. And all the while keeping the wire to the acorn cap. I'm going to take my nylon pliers, and I use the nylon pliers so that it doesn't mark up the wire with the pliers while you're grabbing it. And then I'm just turning my little, oops, that happens, you can just come back out again, press it up against there, and then come inside of the acorn like so. And again, you can straighten it if it came out of its little loop like so. And that again anchors your wire to your acorn. You can still continue to move your wires around like I just did. So let's go ahead and finish the other ones. All right, so I've gone ahead and I have completed finishing all of my wires that are around, and then I'll turn it over for you to look. I have gone in and made sure every one of my little coils, you can see that, are touching the inside. And then you will see that each of them have the hole that you'll be making a connection with your Lampwork beads. I also noticed that my wire was a little bit loose on the ends here, so I took my chain nose pliers and I added a few twists, and then just pushing it against the wall of my acorn cap, like so. And then that uses up some of that little bit of space to make sure everything is locked in. And then the other thing I did is I went ahead and made sure that all of my wires are in place how I like them for the little candy corns to dangle down. So I want to go ahead and deal with this top wire. The top wire should be sticking up, and you have this little spiral happening down below. And that's okay. So what we're going to do is come in with our round nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the wire like so, and I'm going to push it down. I'm going to rotate my round nose pliers up, and then I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to bring it all the way around like so. You see how I've got it? I'm making a loop. So now I've come up, and I'm going to bring that wire underneath my pliers, and I've made a loop where the wire has come all the way around and is sticking out. Then I take my chain nose pliers and I grab that loop, and I'm going to take my long stem here and I'm just going to begin wrapping it around a few times, and then I'm going to come back up, and that will be our acorn stem, right? Like so. And I'm just making sure all of my wires are pressed down, and then I'm going to clip that extra stem away after I'm happy with my wire wrap, and then I'm just tucking in that little piece that's sticking out and straightening my loop. And how about that? A little acorn stem. So now we can put our acorn cap down, and we can make the little dangles that go here. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my ball head pin, and these are Lampwork beads, so as you can tell, they're all a little different. Some are a little fatter, some of them are a little skinny, but they're just wonderful. But they do have larger holes, and I noticed that this one stuck, so that one was okay. But another one, a larger one, see how that is passing right through? So because they're all different, they're Lampwork beads, they're all going to be a little different, as you can tell. You know, none of them are absolutely the same, but that's because they're handmade, and that's what makes them wonderful. So I am taking these little peanut beads, and I'm going to add them first, and then I'm going to take my bead and add it so that it has a little bit of a stopper and it doesn't go down. And then I'm just going to make a simple loop. So I'm going to bend this down with my fingers. I'm coming in with my round nose pliers, and I'm bending that loop around. And then I'm clipping upwards towards the round part of my loop, and then I'm coming back in. There's several different ways you can make the wrap loop or the simple loops, and I'm coming back in with my pliers and turning that loop down, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's closed with my chain nose pliers because it didn't get closed all the way, like so. And then there's my loop, and then I'm just straightening it so that it will hang properly. So there's one. I'll do one more, and then we will finish up these candy corn lanterns. Add this on, and this one had the larger hole with it, so maybe I'll do maybe this one. And again, I'm bending it down. You could also sort of come in like so. See if I can do this like this. I find it's easier the other way. And then you could clip away your wire. You gotta hold on to the stem so it doesn't fly off on you. And then you can come in with your round nose pliers and wrap that loop away from you. I always have trouble with this the way it goes. See, I'm just messing it up. Let's see if I can fix it. There we go. I did it. But that's another way you can make a simple loop, and then I'm just straightening it out. There you go. So that it will hang properly. All right. So we need 6 candy corn lanterns or lights underneath our acorn cap, and we're going to need one here, but I wouldn't put a head pin on that one because we're going to wire wrap it. All right, so now we have completed all 6 of the wrap loops with the candy corn lamps, and then I just come back in. If any of my loops are, you know, not straight, you can straighten them out so that they'll hang properly. So I'm just checking to make sure I did a nice job with all my loops. Sometimes I work them and then it's like, oh, what happened there? So I just like to make sure that they're straight, and that way they will hang properly on my acorn. Okay, so everything looks good there. So now I'm bringing in some 4mm jump rings. These are copper jump rings. And then remember, on the opposite side of our acorn, we made these coils that have little holes, right? So we are going to connect our candy corn lamp to the coil with a jump ring. So to do that, I'm bringing in my my chain nose pliers, and you'll need 2 because I usually use pliers. So I grab both sides and then I open them from front to back, never side to side. If you open them from side to side, it distorts the jump ring and you'll never get the shape back. So I'm going to add my jump ring to my acorn lamp, and then I'm going to come in and bring my jump ring through the coil. And then I'm going to take my pliers again. You may have to set it down on the table, and then you're going to close that jump ring. Like so. Let's see. Try not to bend my jump ring too much. Okay. So I'm just closing down and making sure. There we go. And you want a tight connection with your jump ring so that you don't lose your acorn lamp. Making sure they're closed. So there's one. I'll do one more, and then we'll finish adding all of these cute little lanterns to the acorn cap. Where did my, there it is. They're so hard to see sometimes. Oh, just when I thought I had it. I will get it one of these times. Okay, so we're opening from front to back, and then we're adding our acorn lamp, and then we're going to put the jump ring through the coil hole. Trying to make sure you can see too. I'm gonna have to come in this side. Okay. Didn't open it enough. So I'm just making sure the jump ring is open wide, and then adding it through the hole on the coil. And then again, you may have to set it down in order to grab the other side because it's an awkward angle, and hopefully, I'm hoping you can see this. And then I'm just grabbing both ends and I'm working them shut like so. and then you just want to make sure you have a good connection to where they're just completely closed. And sometimes I take my chain nose pliers and I squeeze that opening with them. Try again. I'll reach further down on my pliers and I'll squeeze that opening a little bit so that they're completely shut, like so. All right, so let's add the other 4 to the acorn cap. All right, so we've got all 6 of our lanterns added to the acorn top. And one thing I did want to mention is I did have an easier time adding it from the center instead of coming from the outside or the on this side. So I did find it a little easier to add the jump rings from the inside. And if any of your little coils got turned, you can certainly come in with your pliers and straighten them out so that they're all facing correctly and they're still in their right places, like so. That's what it looks like. So now we're going to add another to the top, and I think that we will be good with about a 6-inch piece of the antique copper wiring. Maybe even, let's go with 5 inches. That should be more than enough to do wire wraps, and then we can do our connection with our hook. So the first thing to do here to attach the acorn is you're going to come down a little ways, bend the wire towards you. You're going to bring in your round nose pliers and you're going to make a loop all the way around, like so. To attach it, I like to open the loop just a little bit, and I'm going to slide that in like so. And then I'm going to hold both loops with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to wrap around a couple times with that leftover wire. And then I'm going to take my other chain nose pliers and I'm just going to tuck that little piece of wire in there, like so. And then I'm just making sure my loop is straight. So we have our connection. Then I'm going to slide on the other candy corn lampwork bead, and I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and I usually do this where I have opposite loops. So one loop is going one direction and the top loop will be going the other. So to do that, I'm going to bend my wire like so. I'm going to rotate my pliers up and I'm going to bend that wire back around, rotating up and coming around again, like so. Then I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. I'm holding on to that loop and I'm going to do a wrap around that wire. And I'm going to come back up. Like so. Then I'm going to trim off that extra piece of, that longer piece of wire. I'm tucking in that little stem and I'm straightening my loops like so. And then I'm just checking things to make sure things are straight. And you can always straighten your loops if you have to. Sometimes they get bent in the process. And there is your candy corn lantern. So really quick, I will share with you how I made the little shepherd hook. And I'm just going to use a 6-inch piece of wire. You can choose to make it however long you need to, but for the purposes of this video, I wanted to just show the top part and how I made it. And so I'm just straightening my wire out here. And I'm bringing in my mandrel. And I'm just forming that wire around like so to make the hook part. And then as you warm the wire on the stem part, you can bend it around, bend it outward. And then I'm coming in with my, just like we did for the coils on the Acorn piece, same thing. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and then I'm going to, whoops, caught me. Sorry about that. This wire is a little bit harder because it's also 18 gauge. I'm making a loop, and I'm gently bending it around with my, I'm holding the wire in my fingers, and then I'm just gonna have to come in with my chain nose pliers and give it a little, just straighten it a little bit. And then I'm taking my nylon pliers again, and I've got my fingers to where you can press the wire into my thumb, and I'm rounding the wire into a coil again, like so. And that one I went around twice, so I think that's about it. And then I held on to the wire, and then I just pulled it out just a little bit. Let's see. With my chain nose pliers, so that we have a little bit of a, hold it here, a little bit of a hole. There we go. It popped out the center. It's just, there we go. That way you can add the candy corn piece back on, and then you can always reshape your wire, right? To make sure it's nice and round. It's that shape. And then I'll just bend it in just a little bit. And there's all kinds of things you can do with wire and making the hooks. I love making ornament hooks also. So I'm just going to bend this back down. And making sure, there we go. And then bringing that in. And then I lost my shape here, so I'm just going to warm it again just a little bit to make that little round shape. And then I'm going to add my, and if it's still not open enough, I can bring this in. There we go. The wire's pretty hard. So, do this. Bring it out just a little bit. There we go. And you might just have to play with it just a little bit to get it how you like it. And now we have our candy corn lantern. I hope that you enjoyed creating this with me today. And until next time, thank you so much.